Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Attacking Free podcast Transfer Talk. This is part 2, so you'll be listening to this on the Yannick on Chelsea feed. If you have not yet listened to part 1, go back and listen. It is on the Attacking 2 podcast. Link will be in the description of this published podcast, and I'll also put it on Twitter. We had a guest on, Alexis, who's a Chelsea fan, has a presence on Twitter, and we talked a lot about Christian Pulisic. We covered, we've signed him today. It was confirmed by the club. We talked about what that might bring, his abilities, our concerns about his potential lack of output. Yada, yada, yada. But Captain America is in the club, and we discussed that, so go back and listen. This is part 2. Okay, cool. So welcoming to the podcast my co-hosts, Andy and Jimmy from the Attacking 2. We've already warmed up. We've done some Chelsea lubrication and talking about positives and negatives. So in this part, I want to discuss some potential exits. There's been some stuff rotating in the media about Cesc Fabregas, Tammy Abraham, Gary Cahill. But before we get onto those senior exits, let's talk a little bit about Callum Hudson-Odoi. He has been rumoured for an exit. We all know he hasn't signed a new contract yet. Me and the lads have talked about him before, but there's been a sort of flirtation story with Bayern Munich. I'm actually going to the game on the weekend against Nottingham Forest at Stamford Bridge, so I'm hoping to see a great performance from him there and something where the club goes, let's do more of him. But I want to bring one of the chaps in, so let's start with you, Andy. What do you think about this? Or do you want to explain a little bit to the listeners about this Bayern story and get your thoughts on it?
Yeah, Bayern Munich is obviously flirting with Callum Hudson-Odoi, and it is rumored that there have been, I think, 2 bids so far, and both been declined by Chelsea. The bid's been around £20 million. Does it look likely? I'm not so sure. If you read German papers on that one, you will always hear people slagging off Bayern Munich for not doing the transfer business they should have done in recent years, and it don't look like they're doing it now. For all the Bayern fans out there, they are not happy about the way that the club has been carrying themselves in regards to transfers. They have a new director of football appointed at the beginning of the season, and that is at least till now, Brasso Salihamidzic, who is an ex-player and has no experience whatsoever. And
that's interesting.
He's kind of the a funny figure, and people tend to not take him anywhere serious at all. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not too sure. When English people listen to German football and watch it and thinking about Bayern Munich, you get the imagination of this serious club who does go about way and makes the right choices all the time. I'm not so sure. I'm not convinced. But maybe he will follow the example of Jadon Sancho and Reiss Nelson to Germany and will be successful, because he has to be successful. He's way too good not to be successful. And if he doesn't get the chance at Chelsea, I can't even slag him off for that.
No, you can't. Of course not.
He has to do it now. If he follows to Germany in 1 or 2 years' time, might be too late for him. And we've seen it with so many other players, and we will talk about Tammy Abraham and maybe the chances he hasn't gotten in his career, and see where it takes him. Plays championship football now.
Well, exactly. Some fine points there, Jimmy. I generally agree with Andy in saying I wouldn't condemn him for going. It's a very brave move going to another country and going to a European superpower. Bayern Munich have been a bit dormant in terms of refreshing their squad. I heard Chelsea demanded 40 million for Callum Hudson-Odoi. Now, before, I want to pose a couple of questions to you. Obviously, he's a very, very talented 18-year-old. I'm not going to say he's like Mbappe, but Mbappe went for 180 million. I know he's had a league title, and Callum's been on the bench for a team and stuff, but he's a very, very talented young player. Tolisso, I believe, is their record signing at 35 million, which was a sort of renowned playing target of a lot of clubs. Are the 2 questions for you. A, would you see them going up to, say, 40 million for a youth, essentially what is still a youth product? And to follow up, I want you to follow up on that question. There is a bit of a sort of a trend at the moment in Germany at looking at young British or English talent, not just Lookman or Nelson or Sancho. Apparently, scouts are coming over way more from Germany, and they're really appreciating these academies. So just to reiterate, the first question is 40 million a lot for him? Do they think it's a lot for them, as it would be their record signing? And what do you think they'd prefer to come and get some like young English talent that's in vogue?
Well, to start off with your first question, as already mentioned in the last video, due to being in Austria, Andy and I are of course confronted with a lot of Bundesliga football and what the clubs are doing financially and player-wise, and as the result, Bayern Munich is at the top of the agenda in that regard. So there are a lot of Bayern Munich fans here that constantly complain about their board simply not wanting to invest, as Andy already mentioned. And the thing is, with the 40 million price tag for Callum Hudson-Odoi, no, I don't think they will pay it, because they're bored. So Rummenigge, Hoeneß, and Sammer. No, not Sammer. What's his name again? The third one.
Salihamidzic.
Salihamidzic, yeah. No, Samuel's already gone. Anyway, those three, they are known for being really stubborn. So if they get rejected twice, and now they are supposed to give 40, they're not going to do that. They have too much pride.
Yeah.
I would bet my house, my figurative house, as I do not possess one, on them not buying Callum Hudson-Odoi for that quoted price, because they would open the Pandora's box from a German perspective. Because once they pay that amount of money for an English talent or for whoever, every English talent they get, like for example Jadon Sancho or whoever who isn't out of contract, they'd have to massively overpay, and that would be a very dangerous precedence for German clubs.
Interesting.
Especially, of course, Bayern Munich. And so I cannot imagine them paying that amount for Hudson-Odoi. And I think Chelsea know that. That is why they said, yeah, give us that. Because 40 million, I'll be completely honest, I do not want us to sell Hudson-Odoi for any price. But if he does get sold for whatever reason, 40 million is a very good price. I do hope that we would then have a buyback clause. But if there was a buyback clause, so let's say Chelsea say there has to be one in his contract, they're never going to buy him, because Bayern Munich is, they're like the Manchester United of German football. They think they're the best. They're the only ones that matter. They would never stoop down to that level of just loaning a player and not loaning a player, buying a player and then risking him leaving once they have actually given him the platform to thrive. Second question, the follow-up question, just very briefly. I don't think he's worth 40 million outside of Chelsea Football Club. For us in the club, he's worth double that.
Yeah.
Because we know what potential he has. So I can only give you an ambiguous answer to an ambiguous question. So that is a bit of a tricky one there. But, I think it's important to note, just to round things off here, Sarri has given him more chances before he got injured. I think he's very slowly but surely gaining his trust. So Hudson-Odoi is gaining Sarri's trust, and I really don't think we can evaluate Sarri in his youth
policy
utilization just yet, simply because there hasn't been enough time.
He made some very telling comments about, like, look, I am playing him. This is a fucking massive club. Chill out, everyone. He's lucky. He's very, very talented. I'm not denying that, but he's be realistic, people. He's giving it a bit of that. It's very interesting, the points you make about Bayern. Like, I'm sort of 50% admiration for them not wanting to become a sort of big English club shit show in terms of inflating their own market and embarrassing themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, very, very Germanic. But like, and then 50%, like, you know, oh God, stop being stubborn. You're such a big club. You got to do something. And do you know what I mean? But anyway, this is part 2 of a transfer special. So I don't want to spend too long on Callum Hudson-Odoi because we're going to sort of have segments on other players. None of us want Callum to leave. He's an incredibly talented youngster, maybe like top 5 teenager in the world. Why would you want to let it go from your club? But we understand his ambitions and need to develop. So what I'm going to do is just a quick fire question to both of you before we switch player. You first, Andy. Do you think Callum will sign? Okay, so it's a 2-part question. You can't be too long on it, right?
Yeah.
So, do you think Callum will sign a new long-term contract? Like, he'll come to terms with the club and the players happy? And do you think he will be implemented sufficiently into the first team for his talents?
Well, I hope this is not wishful thinking, but I think what would make at least also the most sense for him is just to play a bit of a poker game. This transfer window, looking at other clubs, offers to him, also in a sense of wages and what he could get at this moment in time. Chelsea will decline every single one of them or raise demands the other clubs couldn't meet. So at the end of the day, he will wait out this transfer window, and then I think he will sign a 4 or 5 year contract with a good, well developed wage rise up to maybe the levels of the squad players of the what do we have now, the Danny Drinkwaters maybe, or the Victor Moseses of this club. And I think on the long haul we will always have that kind of worry that maybe we will have in 1 year time or in 1.5 years time another change of managerial kind of all the things will change then if we bring a new manager in. So I can't really look into the future too much, but providing Sarri will stay for another 2 seasons, I think by the time Sarri leaves in maybe 2 years' time, he will be hopefully a first team player.
Well, yeah, it's a good answer. Yeah, I was gonna say even if we did rotate, if he did do all that you dreamed of in that what you said there, then in 1.5 years, he might be so well developed and good that an ex-manager would be like, yeah, of course I'm going to play Callum because this dude's, you know, he's on a long sort of term contract, this, that, and the other. And before I go to Jimmy, you did make another really good point about the sort of the poker reference. All this can be actually quite healthy for his position as like as an individual. It can be quite empowering. No, I'm not just a passive academy product that's going to let you sort of like wave me about and I'm going to be a yes man. No, fucking Bayern Munich's looking at me, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, check me out. Why not? I mean, I love this club. I want to play for this. But you know what? I'm also not a little bitch. So yeah, I'm going to see what, you know, even if he's allowing the press to happen or he's letting his agent or his parents or someone talk to a club or whatever, I think it is an empowering thing. And like, yeah, God damn it, like our kiddie, he can go to the biggest and best clubs. So I think there's a healthy element to that. What are you saying, Jimmy?
I'm going to make this really short. My heart says yes, he will sign the new contract. My head says no.
Yeah.
And if he does sign a new one, then I think his time will come next year. I think if he does sign, he needs to be told, yeah, you're going to be loaned out. You'll have playing time there, because I can't see him playing in the next 1 or 2 years at Chelsea on a regular basis.
It's a very sensible answer, mate. Okay, cool. Excellent. So throughout the first part of this podcast, we talked about another young talent and Christian Pulisic. In the beginning of the second part, we've covered some Callum Hudson-Odoi and the potential transfer, if not the flirtation with Bayern Munich. Now, there are some potential outs. We're looking at 2 senior players in Gary Cahill to Fulham. It was talking about Arsenal as well, and although that sounded pretty funny, although that does sound pretty funny, like you look at Arsenal's defense and you'd be like, yeah, okay, and like whatever, like rotation cover, he wouldn't have to like move far. I kind of would have been nice for him. Yeah, he's a club legend. It would have been nice for him to go to Arsenal and get paid, like get a 3-year contract and 100k, because he's been such a good. I tell you, before I move on to the other guys, let's just do Cahill quickly. like I said, yeah, it would have been nice for him. He could have gone to the retirement home that Czech did, and well, it's usually United, isn't it, as well? We send our players to retire and get a big paycheck. They win titles at Chelsea, and then like they go and get a huge paycheck at United. So Gary Cahill, it looks like Fulham. He won't have to move, will he? So he's gonna be like same part of town. He might get he might have a clause. This theoretically, if this, it looks like a pretty likely move in today's media. I should preface this chat with. I'd imagine if there'd be a relegation clause in that. Maybe a 2-year contract. I don't know, but obviously I'm sure you'd agree, he's been an excellent servant. I think he's serving for Chelsea. I think he's actually got a record for a player in England, the fastest to win every trophy available, like in the shortest term. Premier League, FA Cup, League Cup, Europa League, and Champions League. And he was proper Chelsea in the sense of he'd leave it all on the pitch. He's just not a modern player. I'm going to start with Jimmy. What do you think about? Obviously, I'm going to put words in your mouth and say yes, he shouldn't be playing in his current team. His time's done with us. What do you think about a potential move to Fulham? And yeah, what do you think, mate?
Well, I think it'd be good for Fulham. I think he still has a lot to offer for a club that has more of a deep-lying defence.
Yes, absolutely. That don't require a ball player as much.
I do think because he's not siren material. I mean, we knew this from the start. Yeah. I'm very happy that he's not going to Arsenal. It doesn't seem that he's going to Arsenal because he deserves better than to be put in that defence. With all the respect to Arsenal or not, but
Well, are you saying Arsenal's defence is worse than Fulham's?
No, the thing is the expectations. Fulham expectations are let's just try and stay up. Arsenal want to get into the top 4, and their defence is nowhere near that. And they are really, really terrible. And when Cahill has a player next to him who's really good, like John Terry, he can perform really well, but he needs that player. It's the same with when Lovren, who's been very shaky in the past few years, plays next to Van Dijk. I think Andy's actually mentioned something similar in a few podcasts.
Yeah, we talked about it before.
What was it last time? Yeah. Then they just work better. Of course, if you play with a good player who also has a better understanding of the game, you'll be better. And that's what he wouldn't have at Arsenal. And not saying that he has it at Fulham, but I think the expectations being lower and them being more deeper lying, that's always been something that
a bit more old school
play. So I wish him all the best. He's been a brilliant servant. I criticised him a lot. It is time to go for him, and I think he knows it himself.
Yes.
So hats off to him. He's won it all, and I wouldn't put him in the bracket Chelsea legend, but he is one of the. He will always be part of that legendary 11 that won us the Champions League. Yeah, so good luck wherever he goes.
Yeah, I imagine Andy, you'd echo those sentiments. With he's not that old, but like he, as an old school canny defender who won't shy away from balls, do you think he'd be a good signing for Fulham?
Well, first of all, on the note of Arsenal, they were in for Johnny Evans in the summer and they didn't get him. So Cahill is way too good for the Gunners. On that note, talking about Fulham, it is Ranieri 11 now, and thinking back to with which kind of centre backs Ranieri won the league with Leicester, it was Robert Huth and Wes Morgan.
Yeah.
Maybe the most flat-footed pairing of centre halves that's ever won the Premier League. Old centre halves, big centre halves, and not very quick centre halves. And everything I said now are just attributes that can be translated to Gary Cahill as a player. So on that note, I think Fulham they've kept one clean sheet all season long or something like that. They are terribly in need for defenders. Gary Cahill is at a stage where he fits at a club like Fulham. Every club in the Premier League does pay big wages, so no. I think they can afford him for sure.
Yeah, and it wouldn't interrupt his family life and stuff for them.
Exactly, and he will be a straight starter for them, so it would make sense for him on that note as well. So I can see that one happening. Just a question of, do we get any money for him, or is it just?
No, I can imagine it would
Gary,
be.
come on.
Well, I would imagine it would be like terminating the last 6 months of his contract and releasing him and being and being like, thank you for everything, sort of thing. So yeah, we'll attacking three, all agreed on. Thank you very much, Cahill. This works for everyone. My old flatmate's a Fulham fan. He'll be loving that. He said, look, give us Cahill and drink water, and I'll be buzzing. I'll be like, oh, to be a Fulham fan. So anyway, we want to move on. So there's two more players I want to talk about before we wrap this second part up. I want to end on Tammy Abraham, but before I do that, I want to talk about a player potential exit that makes me kind of upset, and that's Cesc Fabregas. And I would completely understand why he would leave, because he's a very quality player. He's been originally rumored to go somewhere in Italy, where I thought he would absolutely do really well, because you give that man time on the ball, he will be Pirlo, supercharged. But it looks like there's a very, very strong connection to a potential Monaco move due to the Thierry Henry connection, Arsenal connection, or whatever. I'm just going to say sort of my couple of bits on this first. I'll understand why he'd go. Even if Monaco are having a shit season, I feel like he'd probably get a lot of money. It's a nice place for a rich person in Monaco, and he'd probably just like the experience. And, if he gets 3 years contract of first team football at a big club, he'd probably like that. I think Cesc's a supreme talent and always has been. He might be a case of a bit of burnout. I don't know if he ever had any pace to lose, but he's been playing for so long at the highest level. Whether that's been like World Cup winning Spain teenage, excellent for Arsenal, but they weren't winning trophies. Barcelona did well there, won trophies at Chelsea. Loved, he's a bit of fun as well. He always laughed about how he used to get in John Terry's face, and then they were like best when he played for Arsenal, and then they're like best mates at Chelsea. He's up for a bit of banter, but he's just got such class on the ball. He can see passes like no one else in the Premier League. We saw that with Diego Costa when we won the league in 2015 or whatever. When Jorginho's will always be the starter for us because he thinks so quickly, and he just when the ball's already hit his foot when he receives it, he knows exactly where it's going. You don't get that with Cesc Fabregas. Cesc Fabregas needs a second, and he's going to do something remarkable. So therefore, you can understand why he'd be the B choice regista. For me, it's kind of heartbreaking because Conte came in and he had to prove his worth to him, and he said that. He said, I was benched under Conte after winning the league with Jose, but I thought I showed him my quality, and before the end he's starting in a 3-5-2, wasn't he? He was a starter for us. I don't want to get into like whether that was right or wrong. The point being, from him and his heart, he was like, I put my way in, and I will do that with Sarri. I think he came out in a couple of interviews. Yes, I'll do that with Sarri. It looks like that's not going to be the case. He doesn't want to be a B choice, and I understand that. I think his quality. So I've been rambling on. Jimmy, your thoughts on our Spaniard?
Well, my main concern is how we're going to replace him, because you're not going to just find a backup regista under the couch. It's easy, who wants to play backup? There have been calls for youth players, which won't work. Sorry, won't do that. So who would we get? I really would have loved for Cesc at least to stay until the summer. But it does look as if he won't. You made a very good point there with he needs that 1 second off the ball, and then he can do something magical. I think he's a great backup option to Jorginho, and I think he could still contribute a lot. But I mean, was he 31? That's not too old, Okay, I get it. If he wants 2 or 3 years, I only would have expected him to go to Italy because I think he would tear it up. I think one of you said that last time as well. I think I tears up the Serie A because it's just tailor-made for him. France in a struggling Monaco team.
It's a bit odd, isn't it?
Why he would want to do that to himself, but if he thinks it's the right choice, then good to him, because what he has done, and I think I speak for all of us here, he's proved each and every doubter when he joined Chelsea wrong that he can be proper Chelsea, and no one would have expected that, because I honestly think he has had more of a connection to Chelsea over the last 4 years than he had with Arsenal in I think 6 years or something while it was. He's always been good for banter. He's good spirit, and he brings some good spirit into the dressing room. He's scored some crucial goals. I can remember against QPR, the Mourinho title winning season.
When he gave it to all the QPR fans afterwards, he runs around he did.
He's had his mask on, so
he gave it to the QPR fans.
It's sad to see him leave, but maybe he'd come back one day in some coaching role. I'd love to see him come back. That is something that Chelsea Football Club does provide. It's a family. Not as much of Arsenal, but it's a family.
That's an interesting point you made before I come on to you, Andy. That he with Chelsea, he comes in, and I think it's easier to make a bond. I mean, obviously, he might have played some open football with Arsenal, but it's easier to make a bond where you've got this unit of warlike guys. No, we don't fuck about here, mate. We win titles and we're here for each other, and we're not going to be wet. Arsenal were very wet when he was there. He came to Chelsea and we're like, bang, Premier League Cup, go. You know what I mean? And then he was he's speaking Spanish. He loved Diego Costa that first season. He used to joke about, he used to just find Costa hilarious because he never spoke a word of English, but he used to just have a really good bond with John Terry. He used to be like, hey, Capitan. And Cesc used to just find it hilarious, and he'd just constantly laugh at these these weird relationships in the dressing room, going back to our banter. But Andy, I'm sure you'd echo our sentiments and feelings about Fabregas. I personally feel like Jimmy's right. It's a weird one slightly to go to Monaco, but it's a big team with a big wage, with maybe a big contract. What do you think, mate?
But is it a weird one? On a first glance, I would say yes, it is a weird one. They are 19th in Ligue 1, and they've changed the manager, and it didn't work, and don't know if Thierry Henry even gets the chance to finish the season with them, or if there is another manager coming in. But they've done everything they could in the coaching department, so maybe they want to have a signature signing, a signing where they can say, all right, we changed the season around, and Cesc Fabregas can be the player. I guess he would be a leader in a kind of team of youngsters that Monaco is. He can provide maybe the chances. These exceptional attacking talent they have at their club. They have Falcao, for Christ's sake. That someone to finish the chances that weren't there is there. So they just need the chances. And Cesc Fabregas is in a league like Ligue 1. He is that man. I still think I echoed that one statement you've said a few days ago. Italy would be more suited to him. I agree with the both of you there. But if it is France, I'm happy to see him leave there, and hopefully he gets back and does serve Chelsea in another role in future days.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be fucking weird seeing him in a Monaco shirt. I kind of a weird, perverse part of me would like it just to see when you see one of your players that you're okay with them leaving, you understand, and when you see him in another shirt, you'll still have that sort of sentimentality towards him, and you're like, go on, mate. Do you know what I mean? So it's sad, but it would be. Anyway, I agree. I'd like to see him back at the club, and that would really turn the knife on Arsenal. He's come back to us after it all. Do you know what I mean? All right, guys. I do want to talk about Tammy Abraham. We might go over with this a few minutes than usual, but let's talk about Tammy. Okay, so Tammy Abraham broke the scoring record in the championship for teenager scoring. I think he got mid-high 20s league goals. He was one-off top goal scorer when he was playing for Bristol City at 18 or whatever. He looks like an absolute monster. I didn't watch many Bristol games, but I was looking at score updates. He scored again. He just keeps scoring. Obviously, we had a very small sample size of him at Swansea. They got relegated. It looked like they were just constantly in their own box, and he didn't do very well there, but it's kind of a poor reflection, I think, of his poaching abilities. Obviously, he's gone back to the Championship under JT at Aston Villa. JT being the second coach, but there's the Chelsea connection, and he's scoring loads of goals again. They're not worldies, but he's just he's a big old boy, isn't he? He's 6'7" or something. something like that. And he's got that presence, and he's quite quick because he's got this like young athleticism about him. And he just gets in the box and finishes off chances. And I'm not saying he should be playing for Chelsea's current team. I'm just thinking of these frustrations when we're constantly creating chances around the 18-yard box, and then the ball will go in, and then with Sarri ball, there's just no one there, in the middle. And you just think like some situations Tammy might gobble those up. But I think the majority of Chelsea fans would probably argue he's not the answer for our current situation. There's rumours of him being loaned or sold. The original rumour was a sale to Wolverhampton for 18 million, which would probably be about right. I don't know how much he's got on his contract at Chelsea, but a teenager who's been playing in the Championship, coming up to a Premier League team who's doing well, 18, 20 million, it sounds like a lot for like a non-sort of high profile player, but it would probably be about right. But what I want to do is ask you chaps, I mean, it's a two-part question. Do you see a future for Tammy Abraham at Chelsea? And B, would it be better for him to go? Andy, just get all your thoughts on Tammy, mate. Go ahead.
I would like to get him back at Chelsea. I even would like him if we couldn't get Higuain this winter. I would like Tammy Abraham back at the club, because I think out of the two players on loan that look likely to maybe come back, as Michy Batshuayi doesn't play a big role at Valencia, he's the better finisher. He's a better finisher than Michy Batshuayi, and you can see like his goal tally is just amazing in the Championship, and he scores every, I think, 100 minutes or something.
Yeah.
He's a natural goal scorer.
10 goals. He's got 10 goals.
He's a natural goal scorer, even though I have doubts in regards to his physicality. He's big, but he's thin like a breadstick, and that kind of worries me. But I think when we need a player to be that fox in the box, he's always scored his goals in the box, and you will have guaranteed goals with him, even in a Chelsea team against big opposition. And Sarri or Mertens, Milik, all these players have scored the majority of their goals inside the box. So why not try it with Tammy Abraham?
Okay, so what do you think? Okay, so that makes sense. You've voiced your opinion on saying you think if Sarri was creating chances and putting them in the 6-yard box, put Tammy in there, he'll tuck him in the corners one way or another. I'd agree to that to an extent. Do you think what's the likelihood of him, say, I don't know what his contract is, just say continuing his career with Chelsea and trying to muscle his way in? Because I saw him on like a YouTube channel recently. He's like, I want to play for Chelsea. I want to be the first team for Chelsea. He's talking about, like a starry-eyed kid. He was talking about Ballon d'Or. Like, why not? I mean, I giggled a little bit. Why not? Do you think there is a chance for Tammy Abraham at Chelsea?
Well, he has 3.5 years left at Chelsea. Okay. So if there was one club to come in and want to buy him, I think 80 million isn't enough, and it is very well in every budget of basically every Premier League team that they could spend easily. Wolverhampton could easily spend 80 million, and it would be a good acquisition because let me think about it. They have Raúl Jiménez as their starting striker. He's
not
on
enough,
loan.
is it? Yeah, it's not enough.
He's on loan, and apparently, if they want to buy him, it would be 35 to 40 million from Porto. And I'm not sure if he's worth that kind of money. So
definitely not.
If you can bring in Tammy Abraham, and he's living in Birmingham at the moment, so not far from Wolverhampton.
Yeah,
maybe he would be interested in that one, and it would also make sense for them. It would only make sense for us if there was a buyback clause included in that contract. But however, if we get our transfer ban, we couldn't get him back in, let's say, 1 year's time, because you have the buyback clause, and you can do Diego Costa, or at least what Atletico Madrid did with Diego Costa. So buy him back and then wait till your ban is dated out, and then get the player back.
Doesn't sound very Chelsea.
Still, I would like him to stay at our club.
Okay, that makes sense. Jimmy, what Andy just said makes a lot of sense, especially the impending a transfer ban. It would be silly to sell him if we're not gonna, even if we do bring in like a Galactico, you just want fucking backup experience. I think potentially Matt Law did tweet later. I was gonna sort of go on to say about it's all in his future. It's his decision. He probably can go to Wolves on loan for 6 months. Now, for me, they both sound good. So let's Andy's. You can talk about a potential sale, but Andy's talked about a potential sale. What do you think about from his perspective? He's doing really well at Villa. He's scoring loads of goals. He's with JT. Do you think he should stay there, or do you think any and all chances to play in the Premier League at this young, ripe age? Should he go to Wolves for a 6 months loan and try and score some goals in what looked like a bloody top 8 side at the moment? This is not a relegation Swansea. This is like, Nuno boys looking shit hot. How would you feel about that, Jimmy?
That is a really, really tough question because it's one of those 50-50s. It could go incredibly well, but it could go horribly wrong. Jimenez is their starting striker. Why would he displace him? He's scoring, not extensively, but he's scoring. So why would they do that? That makes no sense. Not for this year. So I think it is better for him to stay in Villa. I would have wanted him to come into the Premier League from the start. It was weird that he left for Villa, from the get-go, but he's there now. Same with Mason Mount. Stay there, finish the year, because there's no point, new environment, new team, new philosophy of football, possibly. With Wolves to Villa, definitely. So it makes no sense for him to go. I just don't think he has an imminent future at Chelsea anyway. So the thing is, I just want to talk about one point which Andy made before. I think it's very harsh to say Tammy Abraham is more clinical than Michy Batshuayi, because Tammy Abraham has only shown that in the Championship as of yet. And even though the English Championship is a good league, don't get me wrong, it's better than our Austrian league, but that isn't too hard.
Right.
But, he's done it in France, he's done it in Germany, and to quite a certain extent, he's done it in England.
Yeah.
He has scored goals,
Big Atletico Madrid away.
Or not, he has. But for example, the thing is with Michy Batshuayi, he knows where to stand. He knows where he has to be, and that is, for example, something that we've been lacking this year, that our strikers just fucking somewhere, but not where it's supposed to be. And even if he would misplace those passes, he will at least be in the right positions. Now, I'm not saying get Michy Batshuayi back in. I want us to buy a world-class striker. That Michy Batshuayi is not that. I'm just saying that if the choice is between Tammy Abraham and Michy Batshuayi, I think it's harsh to say that Tammy Abraham is more clinical and will be better for Chelsea than Michy Batshuayi, especially as Tammy Abraham has been this clunky, attacker. Yeah. He has grown as a player. He's no longer just this poacher, but is actually being able to hold up play and link up with whoever Aston Villa has at the front. But
Grealish, mate.
I watch
Grealish
highlights, and you see, wow, that's really good interplay. But I have fuck all idea who those people are except for Tammy Abraham.
And Grealish as well. He's pretty high profile.
But I don't. It makes no sense. And Sarah already said, was it today or yesterday? He doesn't want him to come back. It makes no sense. So he's only 20 years old, and I think because Andy, you mentioned he's still got 3.5 years on his contract. I think he did sign that once just before he left for Swansea. And I had a tweet today, just to finish this off. I had a tweet today where a few Swansea fans either commented or wrote me a DM'd me, and they weren't too fond of him. I know they were a very, relegated side that didn't play too good football, but they said he just didn't do enough. There wasn't enough drive, not enough fight, and his hold-up play was dreadful, and he was also very wasteful. So even though he's banging them in for Aston Villa right now, why would that make him a viable option for us now? What says that he wouldn't be the exact same case as Alvaro Morata or Olivier Giroud that also have these finishing problems? So it's a no. It's a no from me.
It's a no from Jimmy. Well, I think I'd like to caveat that I'd agree generally with those sentiments, but he's just turned 21 a couple of months ago. He is very fit. And you're right.
Help us now? No, that's
no.
fine.
Yeah, fair enough. And I'd agree with those. But he He is physical. He's fast. He can poach. So maybe, even though he's not the quality of Chelsea, let's all put our collective hopes in the future for maybe one day Tammy being the English boy coming home. But ladies and gentlemen, we've had a long part 2, so I'm going to wrap it up here. This is the second part of the Attacking Free transfer talk with me, myself, Yannick on Chelsea, and Andy and Jimmy from the Attacking 2. If you have not listened to the first part, what are you doing? Go back, search the Attacking 2 podcast on whatever platform you're using. Subscribe, listen to part 1, and yeah. Brilliant. Thanks, guys. I'll plug all the details for everything in social posts, and we will see you later.